Here again with another Lucifer Season 3 episode review video. Before I get into that though, pretty important if you are caught up to the point where I am and rewatching or watching Lucifer, or you're just not entirely sure, then you definitely need to take the initiative and pay attention to the episode's title, which of course I'll mention, as well as put in the description if that happens to be the case, and you find out that you're not caught up, it would be my recommendation that you don't watch this video any further to avoid any potential spoilers. And for those of you that are wondering, this is actually my first time watching Lucifer, so join me on the journey and let's talk about it in the comment section. Join me and Crazy Coffee Man to discuss this awesome show. So with that in mind, this will be Lucifer Season 3, Episode 18. The title of this episode is called The Last Heartbreak. And this will be my review, reaction, recap after just finishing watching the episode, although it was yesterday. We have Pierce looking at some photos, and some female bartender or waitress asks what he's working on. And he says a case, and she wants him to buy her a drink, and no, says Pierce. And then another female comes over, gives Pierce a drink, and Pierce leaves, says duty calls, and all this stuff happened in 1958. Remember, Pierce, or Kane, who's been around for the eternity, essentially. So Pierce is reading the front page of the Los Angeles Telegraph, and we see that the Broken Hearts killer has died in prison. Enter Chloe, and that's the case he was working on in 1958. So they went to quite the concert, Chloe says, and Ella totally thinks that they boned. Ella thinks Lucifer is totally freaking out. Chloe thanks Pierce for coming to the concert. Pierce wants to go out for Italian food with Chloe. Dan tells them they have a case. Pierce wants a copy of the file. Amenadiel wants to know what Father's next test is. Amenadiel sees Mom, but it's of course just Charlotte Richards. I guess Amenadiel didn't know that she was around, and it's of course not Mom this time. And also mentions to Charlotte Richards about the flaming sword. Crime scene time. Lucifer mentions to Chloe he hasn't mentioned anything about Chloe's business regarding Pierce, but Lopez thinks you boned. Pierce arrives, and prepare yourself, people. This is a different kind of case. Pierce has a gut feeling about this case. Robbie and Rachel are dead, and Ella says that their chest was smashed in. No wedding rings for either ever as well. And Pierce thinks the death of the serial killer inspired someone. Maze has let a drunken rocker sleep in Trixie's bed. What the fuck are you thinking, Maze? Dan tells Maze to clean up her act, or he'll tell Chloe about this. And Maze mentions that they had killed a guy. Are you going to tell Chloe about that as well? The victim's ex-wife has arrived, and Pierce wants to join. Emma got a little jealous because he cheated on Emma, and she was slashing tires and all that, and she hated Rachel, but she freaks out when Chloe shows her the pictures of the crime scene. Another couple has been found dead. Chloe says we need Pierce on the case as he has some information regarding it. Mary Lee and Dennis are dead. Ella says there's a lack, therefore, for evidence. And Chloe wants to go back to the station to try to find a connection between the victims. Now we go back to the 1958 timeline. Pierce is burning a table with his cigarette, and he talks to a female about the case he's working on, the Broken Hearts killer. They have a person of interest that was seen photographing the crime scene a week in advance, and Amenadiel talks to Linda about Charlotte. Amenadiel says he has a right to know she's alive. Chloe, Lucifer, and Pierce go to see Neil, who's at the place that the Broken Hearts killer used to live at, but somebody else has the place now. And he's basically like a paparazzi sort of guy, just trying to get scoops and stuff like that. But Amenadiel talks to Linda about Charlotte's lost eyes, looking for answers. Linda recommends staying away from Charlotte Richards altogether. Chloe asks Neil about the new copycat killer. Pierce calls the copycat a cheap copy, and Neil knew too much information, and Chloe tells him she's with the LAPD, and Neil is arrested. Now, Pierce meets with Maddie, who looks a lot like Kay from 1958. When Pierce goes back to the same bar, Pierce finds out that Kay is dead. Now, I can't remember if Kay is her grandma or her mom. I can't remember what they said. I mean, it's a minor, minuscule detail. I should have rewatched the scene to make sure, but just so you know, I'm not exactly sure if it was a grandparent or parent that she resembles. And Lucifer wants to close the case, but him and Chloe need to get a confession out of Neil. Otherwise, they have nothing. Dan confronts Maze about Trixie giving Mrs. Benson pot brownies. She ended up in the hospital because of this. Things like this cannot happen, Dan says. Or, what, douche? So Maze gives the line of douche, and Maze responds with that. Maze says she'll move out since she's not wanted anymore. She's sick of his goody two-shoes ex-wife and that stupid little brat of yours. Wow, you thought Trixie's stupid? I don't think there's anything that Trixie did to you that was stupid. Holy cow. And of course, Trixie is standing right behind Maze when she says that, so she runs away crying. Pierce wants to look at Maddie's relatives' file to try to find something, a lead to the new serial killer. And then we go back to the 1958 timeline, and Kay asks Pierce to take her out on a real date. Pierce tells Kay he's transferring. Kay tells Pierce that he's scared and that nobody will ever love you. Ella loves changes chocolate shop. Lucifer goes on this radio show. Chloe's going to get a package sent to Pierce. Another cheater exposed. Chloe to Pierce's place. I love rocks. Chloe asks about Pierce's rock collection. So Pierce has a collection of rocks. We have a character of Dexter Morgan who had a collection of blood slides. But a rock collection, it's like Hank for Breaking Bad with his rocks or minerals or whatever you want to call them. And Pierce has a really nice view at his place. And then Pierce was using this opportunity to have another date with Chloe. Lucifer goes in the van to talk to Dan. Chloe tells Pierce, maybe we shouldn't do this. Chloe tells Pierce she needs someone to let her in. And Pastrami Boy, who was at the radio station, who the host of the radio station kind of abused, was an asshole to, he posts stuff on his website. So he gets all this information and posts it on his website, but he's not the killer. Pierce tells Chloe she's right. He does have a lot of walls up. And then Chloe starts to pass out, as does Pierce. The guy who bought the killer, I'm not remembering the killer's name now. His name was Hoffman, but his actual name that they give him in the paper, his house. He's the killer. He found a bunch of hidden stuff in his attic and learned a lot about how he does his cases. And he's actually about to hit Chloe and Pierce with this double-sided hammer thing. I can't remember what it's called at carnivals. There's a name for it. But Lucifer intervenes and tells him that he doesn't get to decide who someone wants to be with. Charlotte catches Amenadiel following her. She says he says he's just there because that's where he normally goes to just read the paper. Olga tells Chloe that Maze said a mean thing, took her knives, and moved out. Lucifer comes to visit Chloe. He says perhaps he was slightly insecure. Lucifer tells Chloe to be careful and wants Chloe to choose what she wants, and then Lucifer has to go to a bachelor party at Lux. Pierce tells Maddie that he's going to go for it this time, as this person is the key to what he's always wanted. He's talking about Chloe, and that's what ends this episode of Lucifer. Some pretty good stuff here. A little hard to watch at first. It took me 6 hours to watch this episode. Yes, I was doing other things, and I just couldn't get motivated to put it on or to press play, or I'd pause it for an hour at a time. But I got through it. Took me all of Saturday afternoon and night to get through it. But I'm going to give the episode a score of 8.5 out of 10. And my characters of the episode I'm going to give to Pierce and to Chloe. And I like Maddie/Kay as well. It's played by the same person, even though they're supposed to be different people. So you've heard everything I have to say. Now it's your turn. If you're a fan of Lucifer and you want to help me out with the YouTube algorithm, please consider Hulk smashing that like button, share the video with a friend, put this video on any one of your social media platforms. Don't forget to sound off in the comment section about what your thoughts are on Lucifer. Join me and Mr. Crazy Coffee Man, the man, the myth, the legend himself, to talk about this amazing show. Anything you want to talk about, your score of the episode, your character of the episode, or characters, if you want to do a male or female. And then last but certainly not least, don't forget to hit that sub button, subscribe to the channel, join the team, show your damn support, and be a part of something special. And JDev will return.